Hello. It is that time again. It is the Society of Spines book club discussion. I've decided that I kind of have to say it like that because it's more fun. But yeah, this is going to be a live show and book discussion on October's book club pick, which was The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Um, this is going to have spoilers and things in it, so if you have not read this book and you want to read it, then I would say click off now because we are going to go in depth about it. Please excuse the noise of fireworks. There's so many fireworks going out tonight, off tonight, and yeah, there's a lot of noise. No matter where I sit in the house, you can hear them. So yeah, I'm also full of the cold today. So if my throat sounds a bit weird, I apologize because it's just one of those things. I'm just full of the cold. So I'm going to be drinking a lot of water during this live as well. So I apologize in advance. Hello. How was your food? Did you enjoy it? Hello. I take it everyone has finished the book. Shall we start with what our ratings were of the book? I'm not sure. Steph, do you have me on Goodreads? I rated it 3 stars, which may be a little bit of a surprise because I've heard a lot of people giving this book 5 stars, and there's a lot of hype around Ruth Ware. So I was even surprised that it was a 3-star number for me. It was good. Good. What ratings did you guys give this book? I wonder. So a brief rundown of what the book's about. It is about our main character, Rowan, who goes to work as a nanny. She works in a nursery, but she's not very fulfilled by her job, and the vibe that I got is her boss was a bit of a hole. So she wants to go out and find another job. But there is a reason why she goes to apply for this job, and that is kind of one of the twists in the book. So let's see what everyone rated it. I went with 4 stars, but the more I think about it, the more I think it might be a 3. See, this is what happened to me with How High We Go in the Dark. I had rated that 4 stars, and then when I started speaking to you guys about it and discussing it, I lowered it down to a 3 because the more we spoke about it and the more I thought about it, the more I was like, it's definitely a 3-star. It's not a 4-star for me. So that could happen to you too. Yep, thankfully started and finished it today. Don't think I do, but seen on Insta what you gave it. I gave it a 4, but think it was a low 4-star. That's totally fair. Let's delve into the book itself then. What did we all think of Rowan as a main character? But take out the twist and the connection. What did you think of her before that part of the story? For me, I felt like I didn't really understand why Rowan had gone for that job because it didn't really feel like money was a massive part of it for her. Obviously, in the book, she was given, in the advert, it said, was it £50,000 a year or something that they were paying for her to be an au pair in the house? And she thought it was a really weird amount of money. And then even having to catch the train to Scotland, which was quite funny because there was a lot of Scottish twang in this, which was good for me because I am Scottish. But how did you guys feel about the Scottish slang that was in it if you're not Scottish? So yeah, she went and interviewed for it and got picked up by Jack and had to get the train, but there was only one train, so then you had to stay there overnight. And yeah, what did everybody think of that side of it? I couldn't quite figure out what Rowan's motives were to go to that job to start with. Anyway, obviously I found out why. I think she was fine. So as soon as she started interacting with the children, I didn't like how she was. Like you, I wondered if she wasn't even a childminder because she was so angry and violent. I agree with that. Like some of the things that she would say to the children and like the inner monologue that she had where she just kind of wanted them to like go away basically. She didn't give me like caring childminder kind of vibes. Um and obviously, with the twist in the story, that makes it even more bizarre her connection to the children. The fact that she was so off and cruel to them. Obviously, the children themselves, they had a lot of issues. Like Maddie was like this spooky little girl who was quite difficult to manage. And then there was the older sister. Oh, I forgot what her name was. Um, Rhiannon, was it? I think it was Rhiannon. She was older and she was at the private school. When she came back, she was a whirlwind of emotions as well. And then there was the youngest, Ellie, I believe it was. I just thought she was really cute and adorable and just kind of did what Maddie said. Um, I feel like she didn't even want the job, and had it not been for the twist, she wouldn't have gone for it. I'm also Scottish, so it was fun to have certain words in it. Yeah, it was really good to have like the Scottish representation. Um, she stepped in front of a 1-year-old throwing food and got mad that she got food on her. She's one, and you walked in front of her. It's your own fault. Don't wear a priceless shirt to meet babies. I agree with that. Like, I understand she was trying to give a good first impression by wearing a silk blouse and like a really fancy outfit and things. But she was a childminder, and with that comes kids that throw food. It was kind of like we didn't really get much of an insight of her, um, like what's the word I'm looking for? We didn't get much of an insight into her when she was at Little Nippers, like the nursery. But if she treated well, I'm just going to say it. So, yeah, spoilers. If she treated her siblings like that, because obviously that's what they were, then how was she treating other children? Because that bit is bizarre to me, the fact that that was her siblings and she was treating them like that. That was before any of the girls even wound her up. I know. And I mean, I do understand that the children were winding her up. And yeah, I get that. But at the same time, like, they're still children. That was the bit that was baffling to me. Like, they were children. Why are you treating them in such a horrible, horrible way? And she couldn't understand why the children were misbehaving so much because she was being cruel to them. So they're obviously going to act up and they're obviously going to play up and they're being left with total strangers. So why on earth would they want to be nice to you or be comforted by you? They're obviously going to act up if you're being awful. I was really expecting the twist to be that she was just there to steal money or for revenge or something. The fact that she was actually an experienced childminder was a shock. I agree, but I also think that she wasn't as experienced as she was made out to be because obviously she stole her flatmate and like her best friend's identity, and she had like all the paperwork and she had all the experience and the references and things. So I don't know how good at her job she actually was. The fact that she had to use that, I understand she had to use someone else's identity because her last name was so familiar, and of course her dad would have recognized her last name. But it's really bizarre as well that her dad didn't recognize her. And the whole storyline with him is just so creepy. um I wanted more backstory before she went for the job. Feels like it just jumped into her applying for the job. Yeah, I agree. I feel like it was just kind of like, okay, she's going for this job and she's going for the interview and she gets it. But I mean, obviously with the advert and then the wife, the mum, I forget her name, she says that there's a lot of paranormal stuff that goes on in the house, and like that's why people weren't able to like keep the job and they were scared off, and that's why she had to come there for the night and meet the children and stuff. But I just felt like, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I could imagine if I was a parent, I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving my children with a total stranger within a couple of days because they went to that architect like project just days after she had basically come to work for them, which was really bizarre. And it was also quite strange that they didn't do a lot of like investigation into who they were leaving their children with, like double checking that that was who they said they were. Like they didn't even check her ID. Like if they had checked her ID, it would have been like scuppered. And the fact that she was driving the Tesla and got asked if she had a driving license, and there was that whole weird storyline, which obviously makes sense now that we know what the twist was. But the fact that she didn't even show her driving license to prove that she was who she said she was, like who doesn't get ID for who's looking after their child? It's bizarre. That is true. She was less experienced than her friend. She had still done several nanny jobs and been at the nursery for a while, and she was 27, 28. Yeah, I think though, like it just made the parents seem like they just didn't really care about their children. They just wanted someone to look after them. They were maybe too hard work, and they had the money, and it was just easier to just pay for a nanny. Yeah, it made the parents seem really neglectful, dropping the children alone with a nanny for 1 week the day after she starts the job, 3 weeks after they met once. Sorry, my camera is not sitting properly today, which is very annoying. We're just gonna have to go with that. Yeah, it was quite strange how neglectful they were, and the whole storyline with the dad and the nannies, because I think, was it Holly, the main nanny that was there for years, who had been having the affair, and how Rhiannon, the oldest child, obviously knew that that was going on. That was kind of horrible. Did the mum know that that was going on though? I couldn't really remember if the mum figured out that that was going on, and that's why Holly left her job or lost her job. Yeah, that part was weird. Why not say the husband and the client sees time off to help settle the kids with a nanny? Surely they were just interested in making money than the kids. It did seem that they were very money orientated type people with all the technology and everything they had in the house. It seemed really bizarre, and they just didn't seem to give a crap about their kids, which is really weird, because I mean they've got 3 of them, so after 3 you would think that maybe they cared a little bit, but obviously they cared more about money and having a fancier house and fancy technology, and not asking for a passport, other ID, checking her Facebook page to make sure she's not a liar. Yeah, all of these things, like, I don't know if you guys do this, but like sometimes if I'm selling something on the marketplace or something on Facebook, and I will always check the profile to see what this person looks like before I obviously give them my address to like come and pick it up. So I mean, I obviously don't ID them or anything, but I do check to see who's coming, and that's got nothing to do with looking after kids. So it's just really bizarre that there was no ID check at all. Holly left because the teenager baited her into slapping and then threatened her. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. If the mum didn't know she was willfully ignoring it, she at least knew he was a cheater from before the kids. Yeah, that's very true. Don't think the mum knew about the affairs, and the dad was spinning her some yarn about why they left her leaving in the middle of the night. Yeah, I think his storyline was really creepy, and the fact that he did it to his own daughter and didn't even realize is just disgusting. The fact that that happened to her, like, I know if I was in that position and I had taken that job to like meet my dad and stuff, that's another thing. You don't really fully get a rundown of why she wants to meet her dad. Like, it's not like she wants to have that connection or anything like that. It just seems to be that she was looking for him. And if I met him and that was how he treated me, I wouldn't want to know him. I would have just left. So that's the part that was a bit weird for me. I just thought if I was in that position, there's no way I would want to have anything to do with him. I guess she wanted to get to know her siblings and things. But once you kind of know that your father's like that, then are you really going to have an interest? Are you really going to continue to pursue it? Are you really going to keep nannying your siblings when you know that about them? So yeah, it was a bit gross, to be honest. Sorry, I'm drinking a lot of water today. But yeah, so how did we feel about the twist? I feel like that just totally threw me off guard. I didn't really see that twist coming, if I'm honest, because I just didn't really fully understand like what her purpose was for doing it. And when that came out, I was like, all right, okay. But it just kind of, I was like reading a sentence, then all of a sudden it was like, bam, it's my dad. I was like, whoa, excuse me? Like, where did that come from? She was feeling lonely and neglected after her mother left the country, so she would check on him occasionally, and then the job came up and she saw it as an opportunity. I understood the feeling. Yeah, I understand that she maybe felt a bit lonely and a bit neglected, but like I was saying, if you met him and that was how he behaved, would you really stick around? You know? But I agree that she should have fessed up or left after she found out she was being left alone with the kids. That's a great excuse to be like, no, you lied to me and leave. Yeah, I agree. It just feels like she took on a lot of responsibility just to meet her dad. And she already knew that he was like that before the parents left. So that was bizarre. What did we think about the paranormal kind of aspects around it and saying that there was ghosts and things like that? Obviously, we know that there wasn't ghosts and things, but what was your thoughts when we didn't know obviously who was in the attic and who was doing what in the attic? How did you feel about that? I was kind of like, I didn't really know if it was a paranormal aspect. I didn't know if there was obviously the little girl that died through the poison garden, which that storyline part is quite strange as well. The fact that there's a poisoned garden and the children take her in it, and also she has like this weird allergic reaction to something in the poison garden, which apparently has the deadliest poison things, and if they even touch you, it doesn't have to be digested, that you can die from it. And she just seemed to recover fully from that rash pretty quickly. It was just itchy for like a day. That was really bizarre. But I thought that little girl could have been a ghost, possibly. I never believed it was going to be real ghosts, so the more it went out, the more it felt like a pointless distraction. Yeah, it did kind of. I was going into it thinking it was paranormal, and obviously, I think Ruth Ware was trying to make us think that it was paranormal, but obviously, we know now that it was not paranormal. But what did everybody think about the poison garden and kind of like that story? And also, Jack, what do you think about the Jack and Rowan dynamic? That was a bit strange. I didn't really. I read Jack as like a really, really old man, and Rowan's obviously like late 20s. That's the kind of vibes that I got. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're having sex. I was like, what? What's going on? The fact the garden wasn't destroyed or properly locked up, or that they didn't even verbally warn Rowan after she asked about letting the kids wander the ground alone was ridiculous, very neglectful. Yeah, I agree. When she said that obviously there's a little pond, like little river type thing, and should they be careful? Is it okay for her to let the children out and about? It was quite strange that she didn't go, oh, by the way, there's a poison garden, like a deadly poison garden that the girls aren't allowed to go near, and you should probably avoid it too. Um, yeah, it was quite strange. And she had this whole binder full of information. And like, why was the poison garden not like page one? Like, don't let anybody near the poison garden because it's full of deadly poisonous plants. It was a little weird. I wondered if it was the father of the girl who died sort of the haunting the house, but was confused. Poison thing confused me. Did the groundkeeper not notice the rash? Yeah, that was another thing. Like, Jack never even took on the fact that she had like this horrendous rash. Like, the way it was made out is like half of her face was like covered in boils because something poisonous had touched her face. Also the fact that she didn't like ask Jack to like take her to the hospital or something. The fact that she was just like, oh yeah, it could be poisonous. You know, I'm in charge of these 3 kids. It'll be all right. What if something happens to me? There was none of that sort of, what if something happens to me? Then who's going to look after the children? Like, if I thought I'd touched something poisonous, like, I would want to go to the hospital and be checked. But was she that scared of them finding out who she was? That was what my thoughts were, why she didn't want to go to the hospital. But you would still have that fear as a caregiver to 3 children, one of them being 1 year old, that if something happens to you, like, you need to be there for them. So she should have said to Jack, like, by the way, we were in the poison garden, something touched my face. Can you check on me? Just make sure everything's okay. You know, like, because when she had the broken doll, the bit in her finger, like, he had pulled out that other piece. So, like, he obviously knew some form of first aid. So, God, that firework was so loud. Gave me a scare. Jack/Rowan was real weird. I think she mentioned he was young and handsome when they met, but the change from scared to sex was stupidly fast. And the twist that he was actually married was weird. Yeah, I didn't really understand that bit. Like, obviously, when she was questioned by the police, and the police said to her, "You do know that in Edinburgh he's got a wife and a child, like a 2-year-old or something." I was like, what? Why is that even relevant to the story? Like, that's horrible that he was married and had a child, but she's not going to know that because he's never mentioned it. And if he never mentions it, then how is she going to know? You know? It's weird. I do apologize about the fireworks. There's so many going off. The rash was never mentioned after she got it. I waited for her to mention getting a cream or something for it, but it was just forgotten about. Yeah, it was just kind of like, oh, something poisonous touched me. Oh well, never mind. My goodness. The mother just expected her to remember the whole manual she left, but didn't have a summary of do's and don'ts. Would be handy since it was a huge thing. Yeah, and there was talk of like the children having allergies and how, like, was it the littlest one couldn't have certain types of sugar, and she was like constantly feeding her ice cream and like jammy Dodgers and things. Like, it just seemed to be like her go-to was, oh, I'll just give the little one ice cream. Oh, Maddie and Ellie, maybe they'll want ice cream too. Like, why are you just constantly giving kids like ice cream? Like, I'm not a parent, but I know that you can't feed children like sugar all the time, or they're just gonna be really hyper and unruly. And if you've got a big enough problem with trying to control 3 of them, then maybe don't add to that. Not even just worrying about herself. What about if the kids touched something while she wasn't looking? Take them all to hospital just in case. I completely agree, because that's the thing. Maddie knew to duck though, because she ducked when she first went into the poison garden. So she obviously knew that you weren't supposed to touch them. But like, what about the 1-year-old? Kids are like constantly grabbing things. So like, how did the littlest one not grab something like while she was in the buggy? Like, kids are gonna do that. The littlest one's not gonna know, don't touch that, it's poisonous. Like, if you tell a child not to touch something, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna touch it. Yeah, again, she didn't know how to handle the kids, so she just tried to bribe them with sugar all the time. Yeah, it was just like she just didn't know how to look after children. That was the kind of vibe I got for it. She just wanted to bribe them to like her with the sugar, I think. Yeah, I feel like she just tried so hard for them to like her, but she was just so volatile towards them that, like, kids get a sense of adults. Like, they sometimes get a vibe knowing whether someone's good or they're bad. So like, if you're being nasty to a child, they're not going to be interested in you regardless how much sugar you give them. She surely must have grabbed something and put it in her mouth. Exactly. But she didn't even think to take them to the hospital to check them. There was nothing in the book that was like, oh, I've just checked the children, just made sure that they've not, like, ingested anything. Because the littlest one could have like grabbed a leaf and then put it in her mouth and could have been dead within a couple of hours, and she wouldn't have even known. She just put her to her bed for a nap. Like, come on, what are you doing? What do we think about Maddie? Obviously, Maddie came to a horrific end, and it was the 5-year-old that had it came out that obviously she had pushed her. That in itself was quite horrific. Obviously, it was really sad that Rowan was put to prison because they thought that she'd pushed her out of the window. But the timeline, the bit I don't understand is, was Maddie pushed out of the window while she was at Jack's? And if she was, did she not see or pass Maddie when she was coming back? See, that was all really irresponsible as well. Like, she should never have went to Jack's apartment and done what she did. she can't even really be upset at Jack for lying, or, well, he didn't lie. He didn't say that he had a wife or kids, but like, he obviously didn't tell her, but then she hadn't given her real name either. So she wasn't exactly the most truthful person. Um, but yeah, how did we feel about Maddie? I thought it was incredibly sad that kind of happened the way that it did. No, I think her window faced the front and Jack's hut thing was out the back. Okay, that would make sense. How she didn't see Maddie. But I mean, I feel like the most emotion we got from Rowan was actually the Maddie scene when she picked her up and was cradling her and didn't want to let her go because she was just so devastated that her little sister had died. But she didn't have the best relationship with Maddie anyway. And Maddie didn't know that that was her sister. And Rhiannon, even though she investigated her, didn't know that they were related. So she didn't make the connection that they were related, which is quite strange considering she was so into investigating. She was deeply affected by all the stuff they had been through in recent years. I think it was while she was with Jack, otherwise she surely would have heard them moving around. Yeah, I agree. But then again, she didn't hear Maddie moving about up in the attic. That was quite devious, the fact that she played like footsteps and things like that and tried to keep the nannies from like falling asleep and make them sleep deprived so they lose like their minds basically. That was quite manipulative for like an 8-year-old. That was pretty wild, I thought. Here's what didn't make sense to me. After Ellie pushed Maddie out the window, did she just go back to bed and go to sleep? She didn't cry, freak out. There wasn't cameras in the hallway. Yeah, see, that's the weird thing. Like, I understand why Rowan covered the camera in her bedroom because there's cameras everywhere. You obviously want privacy. The dad is a creep. You already know that. You don't want him to see you undressing and everything. It is your dad. He obviously doesn't know that. But yeah, you don't want to be on camera 24/7. So I understand why she covered it up. But like you say, there is cameras in the hallway. There's also cameras in the kids' bedroom. Even though the light wasn't on in the kids' bedroom, you would have sensed some form of movement. In the house that was full of technology, there must have been sensors. There must have been something that gave some sort of indication that there was movement in a room. So there would have been ways for them to find out that Ellie and Maddie had both went into Rowan's bedroom. There must have been. There should have been. But there surely must have been cameras outside the grounds as well, because I'm sure Jack had access to cameras outside the grounds. So they would have seen Ellie push her out the window, possibly. And didn't the kids go to the kitchen to poison and unpoison the wine? Nothing on those cameras. Yeah, that's strange as well. I don't know if Rhiannon had access to the tablet that had control or Maddie had it, because there was that things where they had the music and everything blaring and someone had access to it and put the pin number in. So possibly there was a way to delete footage, which could potentially have happened. But yeah, they were trying to poison Rowan with the wine. So basically Maddie was like a little murderer in the making, and her younger sister decided, I don't want that to happen, so the only way for that not to happen is I need to get rid of Maddie. But as a 5-year-old making that decision, that's quite difficult. Like, obviously as a child you get taught right from wrong, but these parents don't seem to have like any kind of guidance or showing any kind of guidance towards teaching them these ways. So obviously it must have come from the nannies that this is what right and wrong is. But as a 5-year-old to kind of take that decision into their hands and come to that decision is quite bizarre to me. Like, that's more an adult decision than a 5-year-old's. So that didn't sit very well with me. I felt the whole plan was maybe too extravagant for an 8-year-old. I know she was traumatized and angry, but still a lot to go through, and she was a great liar. I mean, don't get me wrong, kids can be really manipulative. They obviously want to get their own way because they're little, they're cute. It's really easy for them to do it. So I can understand the manipulative side of it, but for like that whole plan to be from an 8-year-old is quite bizarre. I feel like even if she was 11 or 12, it would have made more sense. Yeah, I agree. To me, like, an 8-year-old is like teeny tiny. I don't think in the way that you know, an 8-year-old would do that. Even when I was reading Maddie's character, I didn't really see her as an 8-year-old. I read her as someone a little bit older. Same with Ellie. Like, I couldn't process the fact that she was 5. They just felt like a lot more grown up. Maddie used her mum's old tablet to control the house. Used her mum's old phone to control the house, not the tablet. Sorry, so she did. I don't think Ellie thought anything that much. She was just angry and acted in instinct to push her to protect Rowan. Yeah, that's true. Like I said though, how Rhiannon didn't figure out that there was a connection, that they were actually like half siblings, is something that I find strange. Because she didn't take long to investigate her and find out that she wasn't who she said she was. So you maybe thought she would have looked in to try and find out who she actually was. Even though she had her Facebook and she found her actual name, you would think that, you know, it was weird that Rhiannon was kind of using it as leverage just so she could do what she wanted to do. But she was 14 and this random man was coming to pick her up in a van. Like, for starters, this person must have been at least 17, but because for them to be able to drive. So that's a bit of an age difference. I know for a fact I've got siblings. I wouldn't be letting any of my siblings at the age of 14 running off with a 17-year-old, regardless what kind of dirt they had on me. There's just absolutely no way that I would be allowing that to happen. Like, you'd be doing everything that you could to protect them. And I know Rowan felt like she didn't really have much leverage because Rhiannon knew that, but you would still think that shouldn't matter anymore. Like, you've got to, what happens if something had happened to Rhiannon? She just kind of left her in that situation because she was so involved and worried that she was going to get found out, but she wasn't really caring about what could potentially happen to Rhiannon. Like, that guy could have been like a serial killer. He could have been a way to do something absolutely terrible to her. You just don't know. I wonder if she didn't know who the other woman's last name was and why she didn't make the connection. Yep. Surely, though, if the dad was married, he would have had the same last name, but for some reason he didn't. So I'm imagining Rowan's real last name was her mum's last name. I'd imagine. I don't know. Rowan had no link to her dad, not even her surname. Her parents were never married. I believe that it wasn't publicly available. Yeah, that's fair. If they were never married, then yeah, it was her mum's maiden name. So that does kind of make sense. If it was me, I wouldn't have let her leave the house, and if she did, I would have called the police. He was definitely too old for the 14-year-old to be left alone with. Definitely. And her secret was going to come out eventually. It was, because whenever there's lies or secrets or anything like that, it always comes to the surface eventually. But what I want to know is, if Maddie hadn't died, how long was she going to play that part for? Like, how long was she going to keep it up for? Was she just going to do it for a year, get the 50 grand, and then go? Like, what was she going to do? Was she just going to wait for her dad to come back with the wife and then just like expose herself and be like, oh, surprise, I'm your daughter? Like, what was her plan? Her dad wasn't married to her mum. The dad was married to his wife. Mum was the mistress. I see. Well, the dad is a piece of work. I can tell you that. That poor wife, honestly, the fact that she had to go through all that was horrendous, and obviously lose a child as well, which is horrendous as well. She had said that she had planned to come clean the next day, but not sure if she would have. I don't think she would have, to be perfectly honest. The fact that she was so terrified that Rhiannon knew and she just left her to go out with this random man. Like, why did Jack not ask where Rhiannon was? Like, did he not care? Because he seemed to care about the children and to see how she was getting on. But I don't know if he was just wanting his way with her, because it seems like that was kind of how that was set up. Yeah, Jack as a character was really weird. Like I said, I read him as a really old man, but the more I think about it and the more we talk about it, he was a younger guy and he was like muscly and stuff. But I was just kind of like, what is going on here? Like, what is happening? I don't think she would have either. Otherwise, she could have done it that night. Call the kid's mom immediately. That was another thing. Like, when Rhiannon sent the email and was like, oh yeah, like Rhiannon's went to her friend's house, she had a really good time, that's her home now. Like, why did she not just email her back and be like, yeah, by the way, like that's not what happened at all. She's been running off the 17-year-old. Like, you know, why was she never telling the parents what was going on? Like, even before Rhiannon told her, like, I know who you are not who you say you are, she still didn't, like, tell the mum anything that was going on. All she told her was about the poison garden, and then the wife went absolutely bananas. Surely Jack had noticed the white van by the gates every time she went out and didn't question it. I don't think Jack was there when Rhiannon left in the van, if I remember correctly. Was he not away to go give Bill, like, the dad's paperwork or something? I'm pretty sure he wasn't on the grounds at that time, but he came back in the morning. I'm pretty sure that was round about that time. It was just a pointless romance twist. Yeah, I agree. I think it was just, it didn't really need to have happened, to be honest. And it was so quick as well. It was just kind of like, like, we've had sex. End of story. And then she found the wire, not the wire, the thread that she had used to seal up the poison garden and the flower. And then she obviously thought that Jack was the person who did it. I never once thought that Jack was actually responsible for it. But like, he found the flower in the house and tried to figure out what it was, and then realized it was poisonous. Why didn't he go up to her and be like, why do you have a poisonous flower, like, in the house? And how did, like, the kids not touch it? Like, how are these kids touching all these poisonous flowers and nothing happening to them? It's very bizarre. Why weren't the parents aware of what was going on? They didn't call her friend's mom to check she was there safe. They didn't see the cameras where she went. There were so many cameras. This is the thing that's really baffling. Like, there were so many cameras and there was so much tech in that house, that how she got framed for a murder that she didn't commit, it was just, it didn't really make sense. It was kind of like a stab in the dark, and Ruth Wares obviously just ran with it. I know, right? Communication could have stopped all this from happening. And the thing is, like, in her job position that she was in, communication is 100% key. Like, parents are going to want to know where their kids are. Maybe not the Ellen Courts, because I don't think they really cared at all. But yeah, you would want some sort of transparency. You would want to say, oh, by the way, this is going on, or they've had a bad day. Like, they know what their kids are like. Like, they went through so many nannies. They know that their kids are a handful. So when she's reporting back and everything's fine, why is something not triggering in the mum's brain, like, wait a minute, it can't be fine. Like, this doesn't happen. The kids are just, they're ruthless. They are so mischievous. There's no way. I feel like nothing in this book made much sense. I agree, but you know something that's so funny is I've heard so many people say how good The Turn of the Key was. So I was really excited going into this, thinking, oh, this is going to be a really good thriller. Like, I'm really excited. It's going to be a really good book club discussion. We're going to have one that we really enjoy. And then we've all read it and we're like, and that was kind of like how it was last month as well. So I'm really hoping in Notes on an Execution is going to be really good, because we're doomed if it's not. I don't even know why the police was so sure she was pushed and didn't fall. No way a 5-year-old pushed her hard enough to push her away from the house. I get it was suspicious, but not enough to arrest her. I think, did they not say because of where she was found that she couldn't have just fallen? That she was a distance away from the house, so that's how they knew she'd been pushed. But a 5-year-old, it's difficult because you don't know what kind of strength the 5-year-old has. But when you're really angry and adrenaline and everything is like pumping through your body, like, I've heard people say that, like, mothers, if their kid was trapped under a car, like, the adrenaline and everything that they had, they'd be able to lift up a car. Now, I don't know how true or anything that is, but I have heard stories of things like that happening before. I don't know if they're bodybuilders that are picking up the cars or what, but adrenaline does do funny things. So a 5-year-old could have had enough adrenaline to possibly push her. It is a bit far-fetched, but That's the only way that I could think that that could have happened. I did still enjoy it for the most part. I was along for the ride, even if some of it was silly. Yeah, I mean, I still did enjoy it. I did read it quite quickly. I was reading it on a train when I was going to Edinburgh last week, and it was perfect for going there. Um, and it was enjoyable, but there was just so much of it that I was just kind of like, it's either far fetched or it's silly. So yeah. No, that's what Rowan assumes because she was never told. Ah, right, okay. I find that bizarre as well that she wasn't really told certain things, and I find it weird as well that the police were just so excited to tell her that Jack was married. Like, why is that? Why is that relevant to the story? I don't feel like that was relevant at all. I assume she just pushed her hard enough to make her lose her grip. Even when an adult pushes you, I don't think the science actually matches up to be certain, but I could be wrong. It's been a while. Been a while since you pushed someone. Is this a secret that you need to tell us? It was a read for me, but I didn't remember it from the last time. Steph, I think it was so funny that you said that you'd read it back in 2021. Did you remember that you'd read it in 2021? Because that's a sign. That definitely says something, Steph. If you just couldn't remember that. What is everyone's final thoughts on the book then? Would you read anything by Ruth Ware again? I've got another one by Ruth Ware, One by One. I've not heard a huge amount about that one, but I do know there's lots of people that love Ruth Ware books. So I don't know if we're reading different words or different books, or we've read too many thrillers in our lifetime that we just weren't satisfied by it. Been a while since I pushed someone out of a window. No, since I did forensics in uni. That is so fascinating. Ooh. Well, that's quite good, because then you have a different view of it, because you have that kind of education behind you to kind of figure that type of stuff out. I don't have anything like that. So that's a really cool thing. That's going to be really handy when we're reading thrillers. You can tell us all the scientificness behind things. I didn't remember I'd read it until the first few pages, but didn't remember anything else. It was still a surprise for me. Well, that's good. But it's kind of sad that you couldn't remember anything about it, which kind of tells you a little bit about this book, is that it wasn't really worth remembering, perhaps. I thought I would, but I had to look at her other titles and reviews are mixed, so maybe if a blurb grabs me. Yeah, to be honest, I don't have any idea what One by One is about. I bought One by One purely because everybody said The Turn of the Key was so good. I can't remember. I'm sure she's got another one that's really big. Let me just have a look on Goodreads and see what her other one is, because I just for the life of me can't remember. The It Girl, I think that one's quite popular as well. The Death of Mrs. Westaway, I've heard that's really, really good. I mean, on Goodreads, out of 261,446 ratings, it's got a 3.93 rating for The Turn of the Key. And then The Death of Mrs. Westaway has 167,254 ratings, and it's a 3.81. So I don't think there's anything that's a 4-star of hers. No, it doesn't look like there is. She does have quite a few titles though. But it all seems to be like 3.5. The Turn of the Key has the highest rating. So I'm imagining that's her best one, which means that I don't have any hope for One by One. It was Goodreads that told me when I went to rate it. That's fair. Steph, I'm not sure if I have you on Goodreads. If I don't, I need to rectify that. Are you just Steph on Goodreads? Send me it in the Discord, because I've got a feeling I don't have you on Goodreads. lol, never finished my degree, only did 2 years and it was over 10 years ago, so I don't know how much help I could be. That is still more experience than I have, so we're just going to say that you're qualified in the Society of Spines for scientific forensics. I mean, that's not bad, but not great, but it's difficult to get high average ratings on thrillers, I think, because it can be quite personal. I agree. I think the more thrillers you read, the more difficult it is to find a good one. I used to predominantly only read thrillers, maybe like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And after a while, it kind of got to the stage that I was just kind of like, thanks, Steph, just got it in the Discord. After a while, I just kind of got to the stage I was just like, nothing's thrilling me anymore. Like the twists were really, you could kind of guess them, and it was kind of becoming a bit boring. So I just stopped reading them, and it's only this year that I've kind of started reading them again. I don't know if you guys have read The Housemaid. There's 2 books in that series so far. The 3rd one's coming out soon. I really enjoyed that. That was really twisty and turny, and I felt like I enjoyed a thriller again. That was the first time I'd kind of read them in a few years. And they were really good. So if you've not read them, I highly recommend them. If you have read them, like both of them, then maybe we could read the 3rd one when it comes out for the Society of Spines. I know usually it would be a standalone type thing, but if it's just us, then I'd be quite happy to read that. But if you've not read them, they're really worth a read. Lol, I'm the Society's forensics expert then. Do we all get cool titles? You're clearly the dean. Do you know what? That's a really good idea. I really like titles. I think that's quite cool. But yeah, you will be the Society's forensic expert. Steph, we need to think of a title for you. Can I change titles in Discord? I don't know. I know that you can do it like on Facebook Messenger and things, but yeah, I don't know. I've not read them. I've only got into thrillers this year. Well, I highly recommend them. Don't know if you've got Kindle Unlimited, but I know that they were on there. I'm not sure if they're still on there now. But that's how I read them. And yeah, really enjoyed them. I can be the mental health nurse, just not qualified yet. That doesn't matter, Steph. You are now the Society of Spines mental health nurse. Brilliant. There's so much medical things going on here. Which is funny because obviously the Society of Spines, when I was looking up to make sure that it wasn't a name of like another book club or something like that, and it came up with all the like spine, like actual spines and things, I was like, oh yes, medical. Whoops. I feel like the logo should have a spine in it, but I didn't. I didn't do that. And we can change our own names, or you can make a group for each of us with our titles. I'm not sure how you do that. So I'm gonna have to look into that. If you change your name though, does that mean that it'll change your name on the whole of Discord? So like in every Discord chat you would then be that name, or is it just specific to that group? I'm not very good with Discord at all. I used to use it a lot for playing World of Warcraft. And another book club that I remember used Discord, but I'm not really totally up to speed with how it works. I am a bit of a technophobe. I would have been rubbish in that house with all the technology. I would have been not good. I only just started using a contactless bank card like a year ago because I'm so old-fashioned with technology. No, you can change your name just for this Discord. Okay, that's cool. I can tell you how to do the group thing if you prefer. Group thing if you prefer. Yeah, that would be cool. How's everybody feeling about this month's book? I'm really excited to get into this, and I'm really hoping that we will enjoy this one because we've kind of had 2 duds in a way. This one wasn't really a dud. I definitely enjoyed it more than last month's book, but I still wasn't overly thrilled by it, so I'm quite looking forward to Notes on an Execution. It's just a role in server settings. Oh, I think I know that actually. I'll have a look into it. I also have no idea how Discord works. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard good things. I've heard really good things about it as well, and I think it was a Waterstones monthly pick as well at some point this year. I think that's how it came onto my radar. I've not even looked it up yet. Well, this month I was planning on reading the Hunger Games trilogy. Not trilogy, there's 4 of them now. That's kind of what I discussed I was doing in November, but I got distracted and excited and have decided to read a Darker Shade of Magic series. So I've started the first book of that, and I want to binge the 3 of them before doing Notes on an Execution. So we'll see how that goes, because that's like almost 1,500 pages to get through before I read Notes on an Execution. But I feel like I really need to read the book club pick closer to the live show time, because if I don't, I'll forget everything that's happened. So yeah, but I think for next month I do want to read the Hunger Games. So if that is something that you are wanting to do at some point, even if we do it next month, as like additional things to the book club, I'm quite happy to read the Hunger Games together. Lol, fair. I started Hunger Games yesterday. I'm just over halfway, so hoping to finish after this. Yeah, I always have to read it in like the week before, or if I get too much. Yeah, the fact that I finish the Turn of the Key this morning. I think I finished it this morning, so like a lot of it was quite fresh, but I was so close to not finishing on time. I was gonna stay up late last night and finish it, but I was just way too tired, so I didn't do it. And then I think I had 40 minutes left of it, so I binged it this morning. Does anyone have any ideas? Steph, do you have any ideas of what you would like to read? For us to read in December. I know that you don't really have like TBRs or anything like that. But do you have any recommendations? Are we still wanting to kind of go like the thrillery kind of route, or is there other genres that you'd like to kind of go into? I know romance is like a big no for you both, which is absolutely fine. I haven't really read romance in ages. I'm happy to leave the sequels until you guys can read if you want. Like I said, I'm planning on reading it in December, so don't feel like you have to wait. I am quite a slow reader, so if the fact that I think I'm going to read 3 books, 2 of them being quite chunky in a month, is quite hilarious. But there we are. I like to be ambitious. Mind you, saying that, I am like 20% of the way through A Darker Shade of Magic, and after the live, I am planning on reading that. So we'll see how my sickly brain does, because no me, I'll probably end up in my bed by 9. I don't have any ideas outside the books I already mentioned. Generally, I'm happy to do any genre if there's something that stands out to you. Let's see if Steph has any suggestions. Steph, you don't have to come out with a suggestion right now. But just because we've all kind of picked one so far, apart from Steph. So Steph, if there is something that you really want to read, pop it in the Discord. And we can all kind of see how we feel about it, because I quite like us all picking different books and stuff that we want to read or that's on our TBRs. And then reading it together and discussing it, because I really enjoy discussing these books with everyone. And it's so intimate and nice, and we all have very different takes on things, and it's really good discussing books together. We see how it goes. I can leave it a month as I have a ton of other books to read. I'm happy for Steph to pick. That's cool. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have scheduled some reading sprints. I've not really done reading sprints in a while, but I have scheduled them got a couple in November. When did I do them for again? Just so that I can be more accountable for reading. I've got them scheduled on the 11th of November, which I believe is a Saturday. I do really early mornings. They're not super early, but I'm doing them at 9 o'clock. And then on Sunday, the 19th of November, I'm doing them at 9:30. I'm trying to get more into doing reading sprints. So if there is like certain times that you would like reading sprints, maybe reading sprints out from you. I'm not really sure. But yeah, they will be there if if you would like to take part in them. Also, if you ever want to be on a live, then please come and join me. I am very happy to have you come join me. I know that cameras and stuff are sometimes not for people, and that's absolutely fine. You should see the mess of me before I come on a live, especially by myself. Because I'm always scared in case I'm going to be speaking to myself. But I know you two are always here. But yeah, it is a bit nerve-wracking, so I totally understand. But yeah, if you ever do want to join me, you are more than welcome to join. Yeah, I saw those. They are early for me. I currently don't have other plans, so I turned on notifications. I just like doing them in the morning. Because I read more in the morning and I'm quite sleepy at nighttime. So yeah, that's the only reason why I do them in the morning. But I could do some afternoon ones. I think back in the day when I first started, well, not the first time I started YouTube, because I did YouTube like 7 or 8 years ago, and then I stopped and I started again like a year and a half ago. Well, almost 2 years ago actually. Wow, that's quite scary. Was it 2 years ago, or did I start it this year? No, it's coming up to 2 years ago since I did it again. Wow, that's scary. I've totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so I used to do reading sprints every Saturday, and they would run into afternoon. Sometimes I'd do 6 or 7 hours, and I do really want to get into the habit of doing reading sprints, and I think Daniel does want to join me on some reading sprints as well. Because Daniel's always like, oh, when are you doing reading sprints? But he works on a Saturday, so I want to kind of alternate it on Saturdays and Sundays, because I work Monday to Friday, so I'm generally too tired after work by the time I get home from work and things. Cameras are scary, but maybe one day, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. I get that. I'm just a night owl and not an early bird. You don't have to for me. I'll be up. Aw. Well, I'm quite happy to mix it up a little bit as well. But I probably will do reading sprints the week of the live show. I think the live show for Notes on an Execution is gonna be the 2nd of December, if that is okay with everyone. I still need to schedule it though. But I think it will be the 2nd of December, but that is depending on what my plans are around that time, because my mom's birthday is on the 3rd of December and Daniel's mom's birthday is on the 5th. So I don't know if that weekend is going to be kind of centered around their birthdays. So I'm just going to have to wait and see. I don't know if the Saturday it's going to be, we're going to do stuff for my mom's birthday, and then on the Sunday for his mom's birthday. So it just depends. So I might do it on the Friday, the 1st of December, possibly. Just depending how plans and everything go. But I will schedule them as soon as I know, and I will obviously let you guys know in the Discord as soon as I have a plan for that as well. But yes, it has been lovely discussing with you guys again. I will be on the Discord and I am happy to chat away. I'm terrible with notifications in the Discord though, because I'm in so many groups. I've currently got 60 notifications sitting on my Discord, but I do like to go in and check as much as I can. But yeah, we can chat about anything that you want. It doesn't have to just be about books. We could be talking about anything. Either sounds good to me. I'm flexible. Thanks for the chat. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining me again. Hopefully, like I said, this month's book pick will be better for all of us. And yeah, I will see you all very soon, and I'll speak to you all in the Discord. I hope you all have a lovely evening. See you later.